news. A judge has just decided that former President Trump and his son, Don Jr., and his daughter, Ivanka Trump, must all comply with subpoena requests in the next 21 days.
Kara Scannell is back with us. We're also joined by former U.S. Attorney and former Deputy Attorney General Harry Litman. Kara, you promised there was going to be news at 3. You weren't kidding. So what does this mean?
Yeah, very prompt, right at the top of the hour. So the judge is saying that Donald Trump, his son Don Jr., and Ivanka Trump all have to sit for a deposition. This deposition must be completed within 21 days. Now, the judge also, there's this one line in the opinion which kind of gets at the heart of this. He says, in the final analysis, a state attorney general commences investigating a business entity, uncovers copious evidence of possible financial fraud, and wants to question under oath several of the entity's principles, including its namesake. She has the clear right to do so. So judge saying, across the board that Trump and his kids are going to have to come in. Now, we do know that the former president's lawyers and lawyers for his kids have signaled that they will not answer questions, that they'll assert the Fifth Amendment because of this ongoing criminal investigation. And Eric Trump, who had already been deposed, did assert the Fifth Amendment more than 500 times. Now, the former president's personal attorney during this court hearing today also raised the issue of an appeal. He signaled to the judge that if it went against them, they would move to appeal and would move to do so quickly. I mean, obviously the clock is ticking here, but as of now, the judge is saying that they have to sit for this deposition under oath within 21 days.
All right, so Harry, to you, if this could go to an appeal, and they're likely not going to answer the questions, what does this mean for the investigation?
All right, so on an appeal, it looks like this is what happened in the summer Zervos trial in the summer. It looks like they can bring an appeal. That doesn't mean the Court of Appeals will issue a stay, or it doesn't mean the Court of Appeals won't go very quickly. I should say the Superior Court, the Appeals Court in New York. For the investigation, it means a treasure trove of information if they answer the questions, but what it likely means is Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka Trump invoking their Fifth Amendment rights hundreds of times, which Trump's lawyer said that's going to be on every headline everywhere in the world, and to which the judge basically said, so what? That happens all the time, and they seem to be arguing for an exception for, a special famous person, a little bit more on the theme of Trump doesn't have to comply with the law. The judge's opinion, 8 pages, which he did in just the last few hours, was scholarly, federal precedent, state precedent, and took a few swipes at Trump. Cites George Orwell, cites Alice in Wonderland, basically saying, your guys' arguments are really out there, completely missed the mark is another thing he said. So I think what we're looking at, if and when they have to sit, and I think they will, even if it's more than 21 days, is a massive invocation of the Fifth Amendment. And under the civil law, Victor, you can make an adverse inference there. If there's a jury in this trial, they'll be permitted to hear. Unlike in a criminal trial, he took the Fifth Amendment. You can conclude that his answer would have been adverse to him. So that, at a minimum, is a step forward for her investigation.
I always love a good through-the-looking-glass reference during times like this.
Right.
But you remember what the former
Humpty
president
Dumpty
himself said about people who take the Fifth Amendment. He said mob bosses do
Yes.
that. I mean, so the adverse inference, the former president made it himself.
Kara, earlier this week, we had reported that the Trump Organization's longtime accounting firm had basically said, you can't trust anything that, in these documents for, I think, the past 10 years. We no longer believe the veracity of it. Did that play into this?
Yeah, the judge notes this move by Mazars where they said you shouldn't rely on a decade's worth of these documents. And he kind of goes straight at what the Trump's response was to that, where they tried to say that because Mazars didn't announce that they themselves found some fraud, that they said, they just you shouldn't rely on them, saying that rendered the AG's investigation as moot, because if she's going to look to bring a fraud charge and the accounting firm didn't say that, it's moot. Well, the judge called that argument as audacious as it is preposterous. So definitely taking into account the moves by Mazar this week.
All right, Kara, thank you very much.